My name is Jagdeep Ahluwalia. I am the founding secretary of the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce of Greater Houston, which I currently serve as executive director. I would like to introduce the Chamber's executive team, our board of directors, our directors at large, and our advisors, who all join me in welcoming long-term Chamber supporter, Senator John Cornyn, and India's ambassador to the United States, Taranjeet Singh Sandhu. I want to recognize our sister chambers across the world, starting with Ashok Mago, the founding chairman of the Dallas Chamber, Bob Harvey of the Greater Houston Partnership, Suchitra Sonalika with CII Washington, Ms. Rajalakshmi Rao, the national president of IACC India, and our friend Ranjit Mehta with the PhD Chamber of Commerce in Delhi. We visited India recently, one of our several delegations to India, one of which brought Mahindra to Houston in 2008. We will be recognizing our community partners and our media partners in our vote of thanks. Today's event will be recorded and will be available to our members and our partners to share with their members. We want to thank long-term supporters Brask Inc., Lyondell Bissell, Piping Technology, Shipcom, and the VKC Group. And we want to recognize Shell for supporting our Women Mean Business series and the Shell Distinguished Lecture Series, which we hope to resume soon. Today's program will be two parts. The first part will feature remarks by Senator Cornyn and Ambassador Sandhu, and we will have 4 Texas business owners sharing their experience in these trying times. The second part will have our chamber advisors in a dialogue with Ambassador Sandhu. To start the session, I invite our president and the chairman of our board, Tarush Anand, to introduce the chamber to you and to welcome you. Tarush Anand is an attorney by profession, a partner in the law firm of Brown Sims, where he practices civil litigation. He has represented a broad range of domestic and international businesses in various types of business disputes across the country. He has received several awards and honors, including an AV preeminent rating from Martingale Hubble and selection to the Texas Super Lawyers Rising Stars list for several years. Ladies and gentlemen, I invite the chairman of our board, the president of the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, Tarush Anand, to make the welcome remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Jagdeep. Good afternoon. My name is Tarush Anand. As the president of the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce of Greater Houston, it is my honor to welcome all of you to today's event with Senator Cornyn, Ambassador Sandhu, and our distinguished advisors and guests. The Indo-American Chamber of Commerce was formed in 1999. And if you think back to 1999, that was a very different time with respect to Indo-US relations and India's standing on the global stage. But a group of local business leaders, together with the then Consul General of India in Houston, foresaw India's economic rise and the importance of strong Indo-US relations. And that's where the idea for the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce came from. The Chamber exists to essentially do 4 things. First, to facilitate trade and commerce between the US and India. Second, to facilitate market access for Indian companies looking to do business in the US and vice versa. Third, to be the voice of the Indo-American business community. And fourth, to support businesses and professionals here in the Greater Houston area and help them succeed. We've been doing these things for over 20 years, and with your support, we look forward to doing that for the next 20 years and beyond. And it's my honor to welcome back our senior US Senator, John Cornyn. Senator Cornyn was with us for a webinar just a few weeks ago, and we are grateful to have him join us again for today's event. Senator Cornyn has a long history of public service. He served Texas first as a judge, then as Attorney General, and now as our senior United States Senator. In the Senate, he's earned a reputation for being a strong voice for Texans in Washington, and he's known for reaching across the aisle to get things done, as he did with the recently passed coronavirus relief legislation. He's been a strong supporter and friend of the Chamber for many years, and we thank him for that. Welcome back, Senator Cornyn.
Thank you, Tarush, and for the introduction, and thanks to all of you at the Indo-American Chamber of Greater Houston for organizing the call. It's great to be back with you again. I'm honored to be on this call with Ambassador Sandhu, somebody who I've worked with in the past as co-chair of the Senate India Caucus, and I'm happy that he's back in Washington, D.C. as India's ambassador to the United States. Texas, as you know, is home to a vibrant Indian diaspora, and the Indian culture is woven into the very fabric of our state. Prime Minister Modi's visit to Texas last year helped reinforce that with his participation in Howdy Modi. I still love the title of that event. I'm gathering that I know that many of you were able to participate in. But I'm grateful to all of the Indian entrepreneurs and job creators who've chosen Texas as the place to grow their business and raise their family. And as you said, Tarush, the U.S.-India relationship is one of the most important economic, cultural, and political partnerships in the world. That wasn't always the case, but with our shared values of freedom, democracy, and free enterprise, I'm proud to have been one of the advocates for strengthening those ties between our countries. And I think we're in a much better place. I'm very proud of where we are right now. Right now, Texas ranks as India's second largest trading partner in the US, right behind California. But you better believe I won't be happy until Texas is number one. As the world rebuilds from this pandemic, I'm committed to working with Ambassador Sandhu on steps both our countries will need to take in order to fulfill the incredible economic potential of our global partnership. And I think given particularly some of the concerns arising out of China's activity, the dependency on supply chains emanating from China are going to provide a lot of opportunities for the US-India relationship to get even stronger and better. Now, I know many of you have friends and families as well as business in India and other parts of the world that have been hit hard by the coronavirus. And on top of that, now you're having to deal with the devastation of Cyclone Amphan. My staff and I are closely monitoring the global effects of this crisis as well as this recent natural disaster, as I'm sure you are as well. Well, whether it's Hurricane Harvey or the coronavirus, the Indian community has always come together to help our fellow Texans in the face of adversity. To the essential workers and business owners on this call who've continued to report to work every day during this pandemic, I want to say thank you. Let me quickly tell you what we've done in Washington to try to respond. I can't remember any other event in my lifetime that has had as big an impact on the physical and economic health of our country. And I know Indian-owned businesses have been impacted dramatically as well. First and foremost, the public health response has meant that many of our doctors and nurses and healthcare providers have been on the front lines just treating people, providing tests and the like. And we have acted in a dramatic fashion to shore up not only the provision of personal protective equipment, but also to help our hospitals who had set aside a lot of space for an eventual surge of COVID-19 patients. Thanks to the fact, though, that all of us pulled together and did our part, maintaining social distancing, good hygiene, and stayed indoors for a while, we are gradually starting to safely reopen. We know that every state and every city is handling this a little bit differently, and I think that's the best way to do it because Texas is not New York, and Amarillo is not Midland. We know that some regions, for example, Amarillo, have had particular hotspots in their meat packing facilities, but by and large, Texas has done pretty well, thanks to great leadership, both at the state level as well as those at the local level as well. So I look forward to hearing from the presenters on this call about how Indo-American businesses are doing in Texas and what we can do to help you in the coming weeks. So with that, let me turn it back over to you, Tarush.
Thank you very much, Senator Cornyn. We really appreciate all your support all these years. You have been one of the leaders that the Chamber can always call on. And thank you for taking us back to Howdy Modi, because that was an event that put India on the world map, or Houston on the world map, I mean.
I will never forget it.
every Indian now knows Houston, and I had the honor and privilege of being one of the people selected to welcome the Prime Minister when he was here. It was a very proud moment for me and my family. It is now my honor and privilege to welcome to today's webinar, and for the first time to connect with the Chamber and the Houston community as ambassador, our current ambassador, Ambassador Taranjit Singh Sandhu, one of the most experienced Indian diplomats on US affairs, having served in the Indian mission in Washington, DC twice earlier. He was the Deputy Chief of Mission at the Embassy in Washington from July 2013 to January 2017. Earlier, he was First Secretary Political at the Embassy of India, Washington, D.C., responsible for liaison with the United States Congress from 1997 to 2000. He has also been at the Permanent Mission of India to the United Nations, New York, from July 2005 to February 2009. Prior to his current engagement in Washington, D.C., Ambassador Sandhu was High Commissioner of India to Sri Lanka from January 2017 to January 2020. He had also served at the High Commission of India, Colombo, earlier as the head of the political wing from December 2000 to December 2004. Ambassador Sandhu is married to Ambassador Reenath Sandhu, who is India's ambassador to Italy. They have 2 children. His interests include books, movies, and outdoor sports. He assumed charge as ambassador to the United States on February the 3rd, 2020, and presented his credentials to the President of the United States, the Honorable Donald Trump, at the Oval Office on the 6th of February, 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege to invite Ambassador Sandhu to make his remarks. Ambassador Sandhu.
Yeah, thank you, Jagdeep. And it's a great pleasure to join Senator Cornyn and other friends at this dialogue on strengthening US-India relations. Senator John Cornyn is an old friend and has been one of the strongest supporters of India-US relationship on the Hill. As one of the co-founders of the India Caucus in the US Senate, I can say that India-US relationship has grown over the years under his watch. We deeply appreciate your friendship and contribution to strengthening our relationship. As democracies with common values, India and United States share a global strategic partnership which has come to cover every facet of human endeavor. Texas occupies a special place in this relationship. The visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Houston last year and the Howdy Modi event was historic. The recent visit of President Trump to India has further cemented our ties. The reception by the thousands of people in India highlighted the people-centric nature of our relationship and the warmth and affection of the people of India for the United States. As Senator Cornyn would agree, we have come a long way in our relationship. There is an increasing convergence in our strategic perspectives. The Indo-Pacific is emerging as an important area of cooperation. We are also engaging closely on security and counterterrorism. Defense has developed as an important pillar of our partnership. India was designated as major defense partner by the United States in 2016. This is facilitating sharing of technology with India and encouraging greater cooperation in co-production and co-development of defense technologies. Our defense trade has touched $21 billion. Senator Cornyn has been a champion of this development. Texas is the energy hub of the United States. Our bilateral cooperation in energy has been elevated to a strategic energy partnership. Our energy trade has increased manyfold in just a few years and stands at US $8 billion last year. It is the strong people-to-people ties between India and United States that makes our relationship so special. The vibrant Indian-American community has acted as a bridge between our two countries. Indian-American healthcare professionals, doctors, scientists are at the front lines of the fight against COVID-19. Indian professionals working in IT, health, and insurance, and other knowledge-based sectors are making vital contributions and bridging important skill gaps. Many of them came to United States as students in STEM areas. Our bilateral trade was close to $150 billion last year. Over 2,000 US companies have a presence in India. Around 22 Fortune 500 companies from Texas have a presence in the Indian market. Around 200 Indian companies have invested over 18 billion US dollars in United States and have created over 100,000 jobs in the US. Texas also houses headquarters of Indian public and private sector companies in the United States. As I speak here today, we are faced with a challenge of an unprecedented magnitude and scale in form of COVID-19. India has taken early measures under the leadership of our Prime Minister Narendra Modi to mitigate the spread of the pandemic. We have focused our efforts in the last few weeks on upgrading our healthcare infrastructure and building capacity in testing, protective equipments, diagnostics, and therapeutics. We are slowly lifting restrictions and restarting the engines of economy. Our central and state governments are working in close coordination and in a consultative manner under the leadership of the Prime Minister. Our leadership has emphasized the importance of global coordinated action in the fight against pandemic. We have a long-standing engagement with the United States in health and medical sciences. There are at least 3 ongoing collaborations in the area of vaccine development between Indian companies and US institutions. Indian pharmaceutical companies are global leaders in low-cost, affordable medicines and will play an important role in the global fight against COVID-19. The pandemic has exposed the vulnerabilities of globalization and the existing world order. India has been a strong and reliable partner in the supply chain through this pandemic. Even in this crisis, there are opportunities, especially for our bilateral relationship. We need to relook at the centers of production and identify opportunities to enhance trade and investment between both countries and build collaborations in science, technology, and other areas. Our consulate has worked with the Indo-American Chambers of Greater Houston to draw up an interesting program for today. We look forward to hearing the views of prominent Indian Americans based in southern United States and how we can strengthen the relationship between both our countries. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador, and thank you, Senator Both, for your opening remarks. To begin our dialogue this afternoon with the Texas business leaders, I'd like to invite Mr. Balasareen. Mr. Serene is the founder of a company called Brask Inc. His company manufactures heat exchangers for the oil and gas sector. He's a strong supporter of our chamber and also of the community at large, having underwritten the Serene Health Clinic, which provides low-cost medical services at India House. Welcome, Mr. Balasareen.
Senator and Ambassador, thank you. Businesses in Houston have been impacted by the pandemic too, but the resources provided by the federal government have helped companies like mine to retain their workforce. Now, our focus is on remaining viable and continuing business as best as we can. For instance, my company, Brask Inc., is a manufacturer of shell and tube heat exchangers for the petrochemical industry, and that's the reason why we have been designated as an essential business. Our customers required us to have a mitigation plan during this unprecedented period to assure that they will get a continued service. We have 2 manufacturing locations, one in Sulphur, Louisiana, and one in Pearland, Texas, with a workforce of over 200 employees. We have set up and continue to focus new operating practices to ensure everyone's continued health and safety. Our plant workforce has been divided into 4 groups to minimize exposure. We have implemented stringent fumigation measures and supplied PPEs. Additionally, all visitors are screened prior to entering our shops. Our employees have been set up to work from home remotely during this time. We are happy to report that no one has tested positive at either of our plants. As we face new challenges daily of keeping our operations going and manufacturing our product, we remain appreciative of the assistance received from the federal government. I'm happy to report that we did not have had to lay off or furlough any one of our employees during this period. We also realize that the responsibility to keep our doors open does not end with our manufacturing efforts. We are trying to help others affected by the pandemic through contributions to several Houston area organizations and provide relief efforts to families and communities as well as food banks. Lastly, I'd like to thank Indo-American Chamber of Commerce of Greater Houston for keeping us connected with you and other national leaders like Honorable Ambassador. Mr. Ambassador, we will be working closely with you to enhance Indo-American relationship. Senator, thank you for meeting with us today, and thank you for your concern and your leadership. Once again, thanks.
Thank you, Balji. We really appreciate your support. Balji was the Entrepreneur of the Year for the Chamber 2 years ago and continues to be an active member of the business community and a supporter. Our next speaker is from Dallas, Texas, Arun Agarwal, whose company Next is a name. Arun is an expert in retail, consumer goods, and supply chain, and the co-founder of the Indian American CEO Council. An Indo-American who is a proud Texan, he chaired Governor Abbott's maiden visit to India. His recent passion has been promoting Texas cotton to textile industry in India and sees true Indo-US partnerships in this area. Several awards like the NRI of India by Times of India to Business Awards in the USA. He is frequently quoted in publications and has been appointed to multiple boards by the Texas Governor Abbott and the Mayor of Dallas. Ladies and gentlemen, I invite Arun Agarwal from Dallas, Texas to make his remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Ahluwalia. Thank you, Senator Cornyn. Good to see you. Hello, Ambassador. So good to see you. Really amazing time, unprecedented time to report, what happened with us and state of Indian Americans in Dallas. Business from 100 to 0. I've never seen anything like that. Dealing with retail, a booming business, and suddenly it came to halt with more than, let's say, 100 containers on port, which customers could not take deliveries because they had shut down their operations. So really, we thought we, had a business, and suddenly we thought we didn't have a business. And while discussing, with our CFO, what next steps to take, to support our teams here and India, it was comforting, Senator, to hear your tone in Washington. The CARES Act was not even formulated, but when we saw way you were kind of coming across, I told John, our CFO, I think there will be help, and thank God for what you did and the bipartisan approach. It became very partisan, Senator, but you came very bipartisan. It was very comforting, and that help honestly kept us and then kept us by not furloughing or laying off even single employee. And then came certain vision need that of the PPE, and being a textile based, we certainly changed our focus because of calls from some doctor friends and all. And I'm proud to report, Senator, we have serviced around 15 million units to state of Texas, to city of Dallas, Department of Public Safety, New York, various hospitals. So again, a lesson into supply chain management, that how, you can, but I think there was little help from, way the whole situation came, supply chain management. And, so it's been amazing. Indian Americans in Dallas have been very resilient. The hospitality industry, which they are big in, that has been hit very hard. A lot of immigrants who lost their jobs, who had to certainly go back because of their work visa status. The consulate has been amazing. Whenever there was a call, I think because they couldn't go. Consulate just reached out, so they have been unprecedented. But the biggest, Senator, I know what you're working on. I think the biggest need of the hour now is the I don't know the technical word, but the liability prevention act for the employers, because we are seeing that will be the need as more employees come back to work, to not make this a workplace for the lawyers. And we really appreciate your leadership in that. Ambassador, I'm be happy to report that, when India was not producing even one PPE or isolation gowns and suit, my partner company has supplied to Indian government more than 50% of their need. We escalated from 0 to 100, Ambassador. And that was because of the knowledge I gained here. I could translate to our production units. So this truly, when I was talking to our CG, I said, how better can I explain US-American partnership which is happening? So very thankful, Senator, for your leadership. Ambassador, I have not met you personally since you came, but looking forward welcoming you to Dallas when things become normal. I was Mayor, we have a great mayor, Eric Johnson, and he has acted very bipartisan too. And I was talking to him yesterday. His message is that a very vibrant Texas and Dallas is very important for India, and I totally believe, and we'll come back strong. Thank you again, Senator. Thank you, Ambassador. Mr. Mahajan, thank you for your leadership, how you have helped community around here. And thank you, Mr. Ahluwalia, for organizing this.
Great, thank you, Mr. Agarwal. We like to joke that there's often a rivalry between Houston and Dallas, and I think we all know which the better city is. But now this is a time when I think we all face the same challenges, not just the cities in Texas, but most cities in the world. So thank you for joining us and sharing your thoughts. Our next speaker for the day is Dr. Jairam Naidu. Dr. Naidu is the president of Naidu Clinic. He is a clinical assistant professor at Texas Tech Health Science Center, a member of the Texas Medical Board, and a governing member of Odessa Regional Hospital. Welcome, Dr. Naidu.
Thank you, sir. This is the most challenging and historic period I have seen during 45 years as a physician in West Texas. The Odessa Midland area has witnessed the lockdown of the community consistent with governor's pandemic order. At the same time, as a result of the lockdown, oil prices have collapsed. Oil and gas production is the primary economic activity of this region, as all you know. As a result of these two events, have caused a widespread stoppage in economic activity. The uncertainty from these two events have had the additional effect of ending planned activities and smothering the natural optimism of this community totally. Although it's temporary, the feeling is quite palpable. My clinic, my hospital have witnessed a dramatic decline in activity. Patients and staff are fearful. Urgent cases are postponed due to the statewide order and due to the fear the patients and next of the kin have of being out of their homes. Heart disease and cancer do not wait. And it is unfortunate that the patient treatment delays will result in predictable poor outcomes. We are working hard to get back to serving these patients. We also have a lot of Indian physicians in West Texas. All are working hard to combat the COVID, though we do not have many cases, but most of our guys are working very hard here, including the pharmacists and also the engineers who works in the oil and gas. We are appreciative for the Senator's remarkable action to help us keep our employees on the payroll with PPP loans. My hospital and regional businesses have been helped through this federal assistance, and it will allow us to get back to normal for sure. I must say that we need to keep this short-term crisis in perspective related to longer-term effects of a significant physician shortage that is about 10 years away. We may well have 100,000 physician shortage in this country by 2030. Our senator is working hard to fill that gap by now. The needed infrastructure is damaged. It is honored to participate in this discussion with our honorable senator. He's a stalwart champion for the causes in troubled times, and our honorable Ambassador Sandhu. I thank you, sir, Ambassador, for participating on this call with us to connect with the Indian diaspora. Thank you, sir. The Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, Houston, Texas, and I welcome our ambassador sometime to visit West Texas, which is the center for oil and gas business. Thank you again.
Very much, Dr. Naidu. It's now my privilege to welcome Mr. Ramachandran Raju from McAllen, Texas. Mr. Raju is a pharmacist, owns a pharmacy at McAllen, Texas, and a hotel at South Padre Island. He is active in local health-related events and is focusing on taking care of the needy at this difficult time. I invite Mr. Ramachandran Raju to please make his brief remarks.
Thank you, Ahluwalia ji. Hello, Senator Cornyn and Ambassador Sandhu. I would like to tell you a little about the economic conditions in Rio Grande Valley. The situation here is a challenging one because of the coronavirus. As Ahluwalia ji said, I have a pharmacy in McAllen and I have a hotel in South Padre Island, Texas. McAllen being a commercial and a retail medical sectors, all of them have been hit because of the close proximity to Mexico, and the slower trade contributed to a major event. Also the stay-home orders. Also with Padre Island being a destination tourism industry, the stay-home orders also have completely stopped the businesses. Luckily, the pharmacy, we are trying to help, and we did help a lot of the people who are in need of the medications, and also the extra help that we got it from Senator's effort in terms of the PPE program for all my employees. We have not laid out any of the employees. The hotels and the other businesses here in the island also had tough time, and recently it's been allowed to open up at least to the capacity of 25%. Since the beginning of the crisis, we've been working hard to maintain, and we have not laid out any of the employees because of Senator's great help in taking care of the PPP program. I want to thank you, Senator, for your hard work to get us the federal funds to keep our employees on the program. And I believe the pharmacy and the regional businesses in this area have been dramatically helped by your programs. And finally, as a pharmacist, I would like to request the Senator to be as a continual support for the vaccination program. And thank you to the Chamber for inviting me to participate. I want to thank the Senator and also Ambassador Sandhu. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Raju. It's now my privilege to invite Senator Cornyn to make some brief remarks. And sir, if you have time, we would like the ambassador to also thank you for joining us. And before you leave, the Consul General of India will make a formal thank you to you. So Senator Cornyn, we invite you to speak.
Jagdeep, thank you very much. And it's been a pleasure to join you all today. And I'm sorry that we are all going through this public health crisis and economic fallout, but we will do it the way we always do in Texas. We do it together and we help each other. We don't just wait on the federal government to send the cavalry. We have neighbors helping neighbors and communities helping communities. And so we will get through this. Our goal, of course, has been to try to save lives and to limit the public health impact of this virus, but also to save jobs so that when we come out of this on the other side, which we know we will, that those jobs and those businesses will still be there. And I appreciate the comments I heard from Dr. Naidu and Raju and others about how the PPP program has helped. It's been very popular. And I'm just glad to hear in your experience that it has been useful. It's conversations like this that help me do a better job because I know what works and what does not work. While I know that legislation was not perfect, we had to act very quickly in a very dramatic sort of way. And I have been watching, Mr. Ambassador, I've been watching how Prime Minister Modi and the Indian government have been handling the problem in India. It's pretty remarkable for a country of that size and so densely populated that they've been so far able to limit the positive rate and the number of deaths. We're still learning a lot of lessons, but I think some of these lessons will force us, as I alluded to earlier, for us to become even closer to India as a reliable partner, because we found out that some that we were depending on for those supply chains are not exactly reliable. So thank you for giving me the chance to join you. It's an honor to be with the ambassador and all of you and your consul general. And please continue to let us know if there are things that we can do to be of assistance. In the meantime, I hope you enjoy the rest of your conversation, and thank you for letting me join you.
Thank you, Senator Cornyn. But before you leave, we are going to request Ambassador Sandhu to make some very brief remarks.
Absolutely.
And then the Consul General to say thank you. Ambassador Sandhu?
No, I'll just again like to thank Senator for joining us today, and to Jagdeep, you and your team for providing this opportunity. I would have loved to be there, and I'm sure soon enough a situation will become okay, and I'll get an opportunity to come and meet each one of you personally. And till then, the wonderful people of Texas, you are going to be the champions of this relationship like in the past. God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Before I invite Consul General to say that thank you and propose a vote of thanks for this session, I do want to clearly state that this event came out from a joint idea that Tarush and I shared. So I want to share the credit for this webinar series. Today is our 12th webinar since this COVID pandemic hit us. And I just want to share the credit with Tarush for putting together this webinar, because we continue to evolve as the chamber as the needs of the community change. With that, I want to invite a man who needs no introduction to everybody on this webinar, a man ever since he moved to Houston in January of this year has endeared himself to the community, the Consul General of India in Houston, the Honorable Consul General Mahajan.
Thank you, Jagdeep. We have the good fortune of having Senator Cornyn and Ambassador with us today, and I think it's a great opportunity for all of us to learn from both of you and also the members of our community who have joined across from Texas. As Jagdeep mentioned, this is the new normal. We are all connecting digitally and we see ourselves on the screen. Senator, I take this opportunity really to thank you again. You connected with us earlier. You have been very supportive of our initiatives. We connected last month and you have been proactively supporting the Indo-American businesses and also our various initiatives on strengthening US-India relations. As Ambassador mentioned, you are a great trusted and valuable friend for us for strengthening our relations as the founder of the Senate India Caucus and also as the current co-chair. We look forward to your guidance, and I had the good fortune of meeting you when I landed here from Geneva, both you and Mrs. Cornyn, and I really look forward to working closely with you, Senator, and getting ideas from you on how we can strengthen this partnership further, and also in Texas, because from the consulate's perspective, we are wanting to get into some concrete ideas, some sector-specific events, for which I will remain in touch with you and your office, Senator. I also thank Mr. Bal and Durgaji, and of course, we have with us Mr. Arun, Mr. Raju, and Dr. Naidu, who have joined us and who have shared their thoughts with us. So with those words, Senator, since you have to leave, I really, once again, I express our appreciation, and we will continue these efforts and initiatives, and I'm sure you will continue to be supportive of all our initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you. It's great to see you again, Mr. Consul General. And I think the last time we were together, we were breaking bread at an Indian restaurant, eating some fantastic Indian food, and I hope we have occasion to get back there again and to do that once more. But I appreciate your kind words and the opportunity to join all of you. And please let us know how we can continue to be of service. I very much value our relationship, and I think it's good for both of our countries of India and the United States. And of course, our Indian American diaspora is the leader of all of our communities in which they live. It's really quite a remarkable thing and something to be very proud of. So thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
So Senator Cornyn, before you leave, I want to thank your ambassador in our region, Jay Guerrero, who does a great job in connecting with your constituents. We appreciate his support, and we appreciate your support. With that, Senator Cornyn, Consul General Mahajan, to make some brief opening remarks for this session, and we will continue. But thank you very much, Senator, for joining.
Thank you, Jagdeep. Take care.
Thank you, Jagdeep. Again, given the paucity of time, I will keep my remarks very brief. We have the good fortune of Ambassador joining us today. Despite his busy schedule, he is joining all of us today. We would have loved to have him here, and as he has said, he would be visiting us, and we are all looking forward that this situation will normalize soon, and we will connect more often. The consulate has been working with the chamber closely, and as you know, we have done a series of these webinars and other events. We have also conceptualized many others, including on energy. We have 2 people from energy here today. We are also connected with many other chambers across the jurisdiction of the consulate, which is in Colorado, in DFW, and with the Greater Houston Partnership, with which we are working together with the Indo-American Chamber. We have today with us Mr. Bob Patel. We have met briefly earlier. We have interacted. He's from the field of energy. Dr. David and Dr. Renu Khator, both iconic figures in the field of education. Mr. Vijay Goradia, who is also a member for us on other initiatives on energy, and Dr. Ashok Balasubramaniam. The chamber has also, in the recent days, with us, we have joined the chamber on webinars on strengthening partnership in healthcare, in medical research. And with these words, I think today we look forward to hearing from all of you with the presence of Ambassador, and benefiting from your knowledge and sharing with us thoughts on how we can deepen and strengthen our ties further on our relations. And Durgaji, of course, is our strong supporter of the consulate, and we look forward to his guidance for many things. He is also here with us. And with these words, Jagdeep, I pass the mic on to you.
Thank you very much, Consul General Mahajan. Ambassador, when the then Ambassador Jaishankar took charge, Houston was the first stop on his tour of America, and he is now our minister. So we would love to welcome you to visit Houston whenever Houston opens up. The chamber will be able to introduce you face to face with all these luminaries who are with us on today's call. These serve as our advisors, and they represent the creme de la creme of Houston. This part is a dialogue with our advisors. So in the first part, we had a conversation with business leaders, business owners from across Texas, and we deliberately requested Mr. Serene to talk more about his business rather than the community at large, because our advisors will be giving you a understanding of the landscape of the community in Houston. Each advisor will be introduced and invited to make brief remarks. We will then request Ambassador Sandhu to respond after all of our advisors have spoken. I now invite Chamber President Tarush Anand to share some more highlights of our chamber for the benefit of guests who have joined us just now. So I now invite Tarush Anand, President of the Chamber, to make some remarks and introduce the chamber or give some more details about the chamber. Tarush Anand.
Thank you, Jagdeep. As I mentioned during the first session, the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce exists to essentially facilitate trade and help businesses grow. And for the past 2 decades, we've led various initiatives and programs to achieve those goals. We've hosted numerous inbound and outbound trade delegations that have resulted in real, tangible, measurable success stories on both sides. We've hosted excellent speakers over the years through our Thought Leadership Initiative, which includes our Shell Distinguished Lecture Series. We host various women's initiatives, including our Women Mean Business series, again, sponsored by Shell. We feature a small business initiative, a healthcare initiative, and a next-gen exchange. We're a chamber of commerce, so we don't do business, but we're all about making business happen. And we look forward to your support. With that, it is my pleasure to introduce our first speaker for today, for the second session for today, Mr. Bob Patel. Mr. Patel is the CEO of petrochemical giant LyondellBasell. He turned the company around from the edge of bankruptcy and has today made it one of the top petrochemical companies in the world. He, along with Procter & Gamble CEO David Taylor, founded the Alliance to End Plastic Waste, which is a group of around 30 major companies that are collectively attacking the ecological challenges of making plastic more eco-friendly. Welcome, our friend, Mr. Patel.
Thank you very much for that kind introduction, Ambassador Sandhu. It is an honor to speak with you today, colleagues, friends from Houston and around Texas. Good to see everybody. I was asked to just give a few highlights about the chemical industry and what we're facing, and in particular, what's happening here in Houston. So I'll offer a few of my thoughts in that regard. First of all, the pandemic is a challenge for all of us. You heard from some of the prior speakers who have companies here in Texas, many entrepreneurs whom I admire quite a lot in terms of what they've done. They've faced a lot of challenge. For us, we actually, in our business, got hit by two black swans in a way. The pandemic, which was unexpected, and simultaneously, we were hit with very low oil prices. And for us, low oil price generally means lower earnings. So both happening at the same time, meaning with the pandemic, lower demand, because people are not moving around, they're not flying, traveling, consuming, or buying automobiles. So that affects demand. And then our margins are impacted by lower oil price because it brings down the price of our products. So it's been, I've shared with many of my friends that it's been an incredible time to be running a global company in the time of this pandemic. So we have about 20,000 employees globally, about 700 or so in India. We have 1,000 in China, and we have around 7,000 employees in Europe, and about 9 or 10,000 here in the US. So truly a global company. And we followed the pandemic as it moved from China through Italy and on to the US. And, as I thought about running the company, I really thought about 3 or 4 key priorities. And I can summarize it in a very simple phrase: protect our people and protect our balance sheet. And so, the first and highest priority is the safety of our people. So our industry was deemed as one of those essential industries. So we've continued to run through the pandemic 24 hours per day. In fact, some of our factories are near the big hotspot that occurred in Italy, for example, and in Germany. So very challenging for our people to get to work, but that was our highest priority, is to keep our people safe. Secondly, it's to meet our customers' needs. Those who are buying, we want to make sure we provide continuity of supply. And then lastly is protect our financial position. So through maximizing cash flow and maximizing liquidity. So we acted very quickly, which helped us quite a lot. So our industry has played a very important role on the front line in fighting this pandemic. And I want to give you some examples of products that we produce that actually have gone into applications that have helped to protect people. For example, the face masks that you see healthcare workers using, those are made with our product called polypropylene. And then the garments that are disposable that healthcare workers wear, those are made out of polyethylene, which is another plastic. So those have been very important as well. on the front line. Also, chemicals are used to make hand sanitizer. So, we have made a lot of hand sanitizer that we have actually donated to different hospitals and local communities. And what I'm most proud of is that our employees who were on the front line working at our factories to make these products, they continued to show up to work even though there was more risk during the height of the pandemic. And even today, there's risk. So we've taken great care in separating our people, doing health checks every day, doing temperature checks every day, contact tracing, and so on. So it's because of our brave manufacturing employees that we've been able to continue to operate and have essentially cash flow through the company. And in India, our operations have been running partially during this lockdown because we got an exemption from the government because we were producing products that go into food packaging and some of the healthcare worker PPE. And so even in India, we've had some role in helping frontline workers. So with that, I'll stop and just say thank you for the support of the Chamber here in Houston. It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Ambassador, and I hope to meet you in person someday right here in Houston. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Bob. And I just want to let the ambassador know that the next time you do meet him, you need to tell him about your Clean Ganga project, where you're working on trying to clean the Ganges of plastic and other waste. So thank you for your support and for the great work you do. It's now my honor and privilege to welcome our next advisor, a very renowned leader in the education community in Houston, Dr. David Lebron, who has led RICE as president since 2004. He has authored a textbook on international human rights and has written numerous articles on issues of international trade, human rights, and corporate finance. Under his watch, the university has shown a significant increase in its research endeavors and international collaborations. It's my honor and privilege to invite the president of Rice University, Dr. David Lebron, to speak.
I wanted to begin, as others have, by thanking Ambassador Sandhu and Consul General Mahajan for continuing to promote this important relationship between India and the United States. It remains, I think, one of the most important relationships that we have, and a relationship which we are only beginning to tap the potential of. And I think maintaining that relationship is all the more important in a challenging time like this. And I want to express my thanks also to the IACCGH for all you are doing in Houston. The Indo-American presence in the city of Houston is really one of the jewels of this city, and I think not always fully understood outside Houston how much it contributes. And we see that reflected in the population of our university, which is the undergraduate population, is roughly speaking, I think about 1/3 Asian American, and about half of that are South Asians, and many of those are from Houston. And it's just a remarkable community in Houston. It's also important to me personally, since my daughter's favorite food is Indian food, which is saying something for somebody growing up in a half Chinese household. I want to just maybe touch briefly on, an issue of substance and ask for the help of the ambassador. And I didn't get a chance to talk to Senator Cornyn. As I look across my screen today and I see the remarkable citizens of Houston and citizens of the United States, many of whom have come from India, I'm just reminded once more of how important that community is to the success of our country and the success of our city and the success of our universities. Even our neighbor across town, under remarkable leadership of Renu Khator, she's a leader, but there are a number of leaders of American universities actually who have come from India, who have studied here. When I look at our faculty and areas across the university, when I look at what we're doing in material science and computer science, what we see over and over again is the importance of immigrants and the importance in particular of the Indian community. Earlier this year, we launched a relationship with IIT Kanpur, working on relationships with the Indian Institute of Science. And so it was distressing to hear generally about the barriers being imposed toward immigrants, and particularly skilled immigrants and H-1B immigrants. And so I hope you'll help us convey to Senator Cornyn and others the importance of keeping those relationships open and people coming here. They are vital to our universities. It's vital to our economy. And we, of course, are selfish about this. We want to have the best people in the world. But I think everything you can do, just as an example, we heard that the Indian the American embassy had informed people in India that students would not be able to get visas until the spring. So that means a whole semester lost by those folks. So I'd like to issue a plea to the ambassador and others who might have influence, whether with Senator Cornyn and others, that needs to be a priority as we reopen our country. I hope we will reopen our country as well to this incredible community of people who bring our countries together and create greater possibilities for us working together. So again, thank all of you, and I'll stay on, but I want to wish you all a very great holiday weekend, which I'm sure we all need after 2 months of Zooming with each other.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lebron. Always a pleasure and an honor to have you talk to us. It's now my privilege to welcome the founding president of the Chamber, a close personal friend, Dr. Durga Agarwal, who is the founder of Piping Technology and Products, a leading manufacturer of piping technology. He was appointed to the university's Board of Regents by Governor Perry, has been a founding president of India House, a nonprofit community center, and of course, the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce. He led the delegation from Houston for the first Diwali celebrations at the White House, which I had the honor of attending. And it was thanks to his perseverance that we connected MD Anderson Cancer Center and India Starter Memorial for an exchange of knowledge in cancer research. Dr. Durga Agarwal, the founding president of the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, I invite you to speak, sir.
Thank you very much, and I'm delighted to meet our ambassador, Honorable Taranjit Singh Sandhu, on the computer, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in Houston or Washington, D.C. when the travel opens. And Mahadanji, our Consul General, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to be with you all, with this elite group. I want to give you some background of my background. I came here 52 years ago, and I started my business about 45 years ago. I have about 500, 600 employees in Houston, and I have people in New Hampshire, California, and also I have some people in New Delhi. And just like Balsari, I have essential business, so my people are working. In fact, again, we are fortunate to get this PPP loan help, and we have been trying to hire people. We have hired more than 50 people, 60 people, 10% in last 3-4 weeks. So we are fortunate. I hope we keep the momentum going. And so I think our people are coming to work. Productivity is low, and hopefully we will keep it going. Again, I got my master's in 69 and doctorate in 74. And I was member of the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, founding member. I think we started in 1999. I was also a member of ITAC, Industrial Trade Advisory Committee, part of USTR, US Department of Commerce, for 8 years. And when I joined the ITAC, there was no conversation of India in those meetings. They used to be closed door confidential meetings every 3 months, every 2.5 months. I made sure that they will report on India free trade agreement in every meeting. So we have been trying to connect India for a long time. We hosted Phil Graham, Senator Phil Graham, Senator Cornyn. We have done fundraisers for Sheila Jackson Lee, Governor Abbott, Rick Perry, and many others. In fact, after Governor Abbott's fundraiser at our place, he decided to go to India within 2 months. Probably it was being discussed before, but I think I will take some credit for that. And we have done some other fundraisers for some other lawmakers. Sheila Jackson Lee is a good friend. Al Green is a good friend. So we support some Democrats, our Indo-American community in Houston. I would like to call Indo-Texan community because Rick Perry said that you should not call it Indo-American. We should call it Indo-Texan community. It's a very dynamic community. And we support many lawmakers, and when we support them, I know Arun Agarwal and Mr. Mago, they are very close to some of the lawmakers. They do things for us. In fact, Senator Cornyn played a big role in getting the whole Texas delegation to support Indo-US nuclear treaty and LNG export to India. Senator Cornyn and our Congressman Pete Olson, they played a leading role to make sure that we export LNG to India, and it got approved. Also, I was on the board of Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board for 4 years. There, I pushed the DNP program, Doctorate of Nursing Practice program in the state of Texas, and got it approved. And I met Prime Minister Modi about 3 years ago in the PM's office, and I told him about this DNP program, and we spoke about many things, but he liked this DNP program, Doctorate of Nursing Practice. So he got Dr. Jitendra Singh, who was a PMO minister, to come to his office and told him that he wants me to connect me with the right people so that we can get DNP program started in India. So Health Secretary and President of Nursing Council of India met me in next 2 or 3 days, and we have signed MOU with Nursing Council of India, and they came over here. Now the DNP program is going to be implemented soon, or it may have been already implemented. This is going to be a game changer for India in healthcare. This will be a parallel pipeline to medical doctors. And medical doctors nurses can see patients, do research, and prescribe medicines independent of medical doctors. And Prime Minister Modi thought that this will be wonderful for the masses of India. Rural India will benefit because there is enormous amount of shortage of doctors in India. So again, I do appreciate the opportunity of being with you all. Thank you very much, Jagdeep ji and Ambassador.
Thank you, Durga ji.
Yeah, thank you very much, Taranjit Singh ji. And I appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Durga ji. I would now like to invite Dr. Renu Khator, who, in the words of past president of the chamber, Sanjay Ramabhadran, we all call a rock star. She made history by becoming the first foreign-born president and chancellor of the University of Houston, and is credited with making the University of Houston a Tier 1 university. She's achieved something of an iconic status on her campus. I now invite Dr. Renu Khator, the Chancellor of the University of Houston, to make her remarks.
Thank you very much, Jagdeep ji. And Mr. Ambassador, what an honor and privilege it is to meet with you, even though virtually. I certainly hope that we do get an opportunity to be here together. We are not competitive in Houston, but we would most definitely like for you to visit Houston first whenever the travel becomes safer. So University of Houston system is about 75,000 students. I'm chancellor of the system with 4 universities, but I'm also president of this flagship University of Houston. And we have many students here, and many from India, and I would have exactly the same plea, whatever anybody can do to really help our relationship there, as President Lee Byrne had said, because for our students from India also, it's becoming a crisis. We never closed our residence halls. During all of this pandemic, we still house 1,200 students on campus. And I understand many of the students, I mean, they're slowly finding a way to go back to India, but we want the students to come back, and hopefully we can get the visa issue resolved. In the interest of time, I will tell you only about 2 projects, because I think, Mr. Ambassador, you would be interested in those. And in the spirit of bilateralism, these ones go both ways. So first of all, I have been serving on Prime Minister Modi ji's committee, which consists of 4 members. And this is to select the institutes of eminence in India. 20 institutes, 10 public, 10 private. I've been involved in it from day one, along with 3 other colleagues, and I'm still involved in that. It has been such a learning process for me. I got to know India's higher education landscape, met so many people, and anytime I'm not able to join there by going to India, I will spend until 2 a.m. Just on video things from here. So that's my side, that's one thing. But we also have from the University of Houston projects with India. One particular interest you would have is a project by Dr. Ganesh Thakur with Oil India in Assam. And now we have been there for 3 years. And the idea is to help the production of oil in Assam. And what I've been told from his phase 1 and phase 2 experiments, that the production, the yield could be seen up by as much as 25%. So it's just one example. I want to now leave you on something, because yesterday we had our Board of Regents meeting, and I cannot tell you how proud we are that Dr. Agrawal, whom you just now heard, is a member of our board. And this is a 2nd term. It's not very often that governor appoints anybody to serve in 2nd term. That tells you about his power, his influence, and I guess his likability as well. And yesterday we presented a researcher who is helping with COVID-19, and this would help India, and he's in conversation with India. So ventilators, which are obviously in short supply, cost anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000. His team, he's one member with several other researchers, has come up with a ventilator, which is in prototype now, which would cost roughly around $500. And I think that would be really, really such a contribution. And that's where I see the major research universities making an impact. I am very proud to be from India. I'm very proud to be in Houston, because I do believe really that both are blessed places. And I have the blessing of being here. So Mr. Ambassador, anything I can do, I'm here. And with that, I just simply say we wait for the day when you will visit Houston, or I get a chance to visit there, and hopefully you'll give me an opportunity to see you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Renukator. Always a privilege to have you speak to us. We were one of the first engagements with the community she had when she moved to Houston, which seems like just yesterday, but she's really done a lot for us. The next speaker is also a man who has made a major contribution, not just to Houston, but to India. He has the mind of a businessman, but the heart of a philanthropist. He founded and is the chairman of Winmar International, a major petrochemical marketing and distribution company headquartered in Houston. But he feels his real role on earth is his philanthropic activity. There's a lot he does without talking about. I know that from personal experience, but people do know him as the founder of Pratham USA, an institution that supports education for the underserved in India, which today has 14 chapters in the USA. Vijay Goradia is a man we all admire, and I consider him our moral compass for the chamber, because I keep telling him, if you're still on our board of advisors, we must be doing something right, because he tells it as it is. So ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege to welcome Vijay Guradia.
Thank you, Jagdeep. I appreciate that. Mr. Ambassador, nice to meet you again twice in a week, both over the internet, but I do hope to see you in person as soon as the earliest opportunity is made available, either in DC or here in Houston. As some of you know, I am in the world of petrochemicals, and Bob Patel has already shared with you the challenges we're currently facing in the world of petrochemicals. So I'm not going to dwell too much on that, other than to say that we hope that this gets over soon so we can get back to some kind of normalcy. But in the meantime, we chug along. As Ambassador, you know, I'm part of the Energy Advisory Committee, ITT as we call it. And we had this meeting with Dharmendra Pradhan and his colleagues this week. Again, I'm not at liberty to share what was discussed and deliberated, other than to say that, although the current challenges that we're facing in the world of energy and petrochemicals, while they're daunting, they also present a tremendous opportunity for India and the US to participate in some long-term partnership that may be beneficial to both countries. And I believe that if both countries act decisively and quickly, that it'll be beneficial for a long period to come. Mr. Mahajan, our Consul General, has been very instrumental in arranging and facilitating this dialogue in a very concrete and meaningful way. And I am very hopeful that this will lead to something important and concrete in the coming months and years. Jagdeep touched on my involvement with philanthropy. I am very passionate about that. In addition to Pratham, which I founded 20 years ago, that now has impacted as many as 60 million children in India. I'm also involved in another project that is health related, and it's relevant in the current context of coronavirus, because this project involves mentoring physicians and physicians' assistants all over India. And it's currently impacting several million Indian people and growing rapidly. So at a time like this, when there's a lockdown where mobility is restricted, this project called Project ECHO is extremely helpful in diagnosing and treating patients in even the most remotest parts of India. So I'm very proud to have brought this initiative to India, and it's making tremendous progress. I'll stop here. Thank you again for your support, Mr. Ambassador and Mr. Mahajan.
Thank you very much, Vijay. I would like to inform the ambassador, this is not the first time Vijay has been involved in the energy advisory. during the time when Skun Thayil was the Consul General in Houston, and India was trying to get American companies for bid for the NELP rounds, we had worked to put together with the Chamber and the Consulate the first energy advisory. Vijay and Skun Thayil, the then Consul General, co-chaired it. I had the privilege of serving as Executive Director, and brought into the room a group of senior energy executives with the clear mandate that they were here to give back, not to look for contracts. So that's been something that Vijay's been doing for a long time. We are also privileged to be living in the city, which is the home to the world's largest medical center. And when Consul General Anupam Ray moved to Houston, he said, you guys have been doing a lot of good work linking MD Anderson and Tata Cancer Center, but you need to be looking at the business of medicine. And we started visiting the heads of all the medical institutes in Houston and the Texas Medical Center, the TMC, to talk about the possibility of bilateral research, fundamental research in healthcare. And we are very proud that ever since Consul General Mahajan has come, he has also brought back the focus of the chamber in moving the needle forward in healthcare. And with the COVID crisis, this has come to the forefront, and the chamber has had the privilege of hosting 3 events focused on the healthcare relationship in the COVID crisis. We have had chamber advisor, Dr. Klotman from Baylor College, and his colleague Ashok Balasubramaniam talk about the COVID crisis at one of our previous webinars, which we would be happy to share the recording with everybody on today's call. But now it's my privilege to invite Dr. Ashok Balasubramaniam to talk about the healthcare sector, specifically with respect to his institute. He is a doctor of internal medicine and endocrinology, diabetes and metabolism. He is the vice president for academic integration and senior associate dean for academic affairs at Baylor College of Medicine in Houston, Texas. I give you Dr. Ashok Balasubramaniam.
Thank you so much, Jagdeep Ji, and it's truly a pleasure to meet Ambassador Sandhu and Consul General Mahajan. I'd like to do 3 things in the brief time that I have. Tell you a little bit about Baylor as a leading academic medical center, and then the kind of role that such an academic medical center can play in a pandemic and a crisis like COVID, and then maybe how both of those can translate into some really deep connections with our counterparts in India. So as Jagdeep Ji mentioned, the Texas Medical Center is a very enlightened, pre-planned, enormous area devoted to clinical care and medical research, and has grown to be pretty much the largest in the world. And it's not just the size of it, it's the intensity of the activity and the way in which its effects rebound around the world. Within that, there are 2 medical schools, and Baylor College of Medicine is one of them. It's one of the highest ranked medical schools in the country. It's really a medical university. It includes both the medical school and a very large graduate school where fundamental basic science is done, and a school of tropical medicine, as well as a school of allied health, which includes, for instance, a degree in the DNP that Dr. Agarwal just mentioned. So it's a full thickness, full scale medical training and research institute. It is particularly well known for its work in genomics, in the microbiome, as a comprehensive cancer center, and also very much, as Jagdeep mentioned, in the area of health services research, which is translating big data, biomedical data into best practices, and including such tools as telemedicine. And all of these, came to be used very quickly and had to be deployed very quickly with the COVID crisis. So Bob Patel mentioned that there was a need in this crisis in his large company to both protect the people and protect the balance sheet. Well, in this case, we have to do both of those things and also actually go out and treat the people and take care of the population and take care and try to prevent some spreading of the population, regardless of the damage that it's doing to the balance sheet. So that was a challenge that happened to us. And all of these resources were put into play very, very quickly at the same time that we were practicing social distancing, a very difficult thing to do. But the things we've learned from that have been quite remarkable. And we were able to very quickly bring together not only just trying to keep our people safe and treating patients, but finding ways to treat them at almost the same level as before the crisis using telemedicine, for instance. Also, in the space of about 2 months, something like 60 different research projects and clinical trials related to COVID have been started in a very short space of time. These include all of the well-known national trials that are actually having an effect on patients, such as the remdesivir trial, the convalescent plasma trial, but a whole range of other innovative drugs as well through our drug development center. And as these trials go through very quickly, those that are effective will be quickly translated into treatments around the country and around the world. The other thing that's been important is that we were one of the first to set up surveillance testing, both with a test for COVID, as well as a test for the antibodies, both of which are being used by the city of Houston and the county to be able to actually find in selected areas what are the clusters of cases and how to use contact tracing to go about trying to quell them in those areas. So I think it was astonishing how in a short space of time, this existing resource could be called into play and used very effectively. Now, how would all of this, impact, India, for instance? So to begin with, there's a huge number of us, South Indians, South Asians, here in the medical center and at Baylor, and many of us with very strong ties. So there's no end to the number of collaborative enterprises that go on, but training is also a very important thing. One of the things India lacks, despite its genius in medicine and its very large number of physicians, is actually a lack of physician scientists, that they're in very short supply, and that's one of the things that we specialize in. We have, amongst other things, a very large clinical scientist training program, which I happen to direct. And in fact, 2 of our graduates are now leaders in India. The director of the Indian Institute for Genomics in Delhi, Anurag Agarwal, is a graduate of that program. And Dr. Akar, who is the head of the Institute for Immunology in India, is also a graduate from here, and there are others as well. So there's a tremendous amount of training that goes on, which I think has an impact worldwide. We would like also to have a much more direct effect on basic science and the translational results of that across the 2 countries, and anything that we can do to work with your office to further that would really help. Because on a person-to-person level, this works very well, but when institutions want to work across, there are always some bureaucratic constraints, which if we could ease them could make, I think, the exchange much more fruitful and productive, particularly in areas that need immediate attention, such as best treatments for COVID and best preventive treatments for the next pandemic. So thank you very much for this opportunity. Welcome, and we hope to see you in Houston.
Thank you very much, Ashok. Before I hand over to the ambassador to respond or to give his remarks, I want to mention that the membership of the chamber is very diverse, ranging from the VKC group, owned by Agarwal, which has more than 100 subways, to Ansh Labs, run by a scientist, Gopal Savjani, who has developed an antibody test kit. So the chamber is very, very vibrant. It represents the business community, and we would love to welcome you to the chamber in the near future to meet our members, or maybe with the help of the Consul General, set up another meeting where you talk to our members at the next level to get some ideas on what they are doing. With that, I will now hand over to the ambassador to make his remarks. And when the ambassador finishes, Tarush Anand, our president, will come in to propose the vote of thanks. So I'm saying goodbye to everybody at this point. I now invite the ambassador to make his remarks, followed by the vote of thanks by the chairman of our board and president, Tarush Anand.
Thank you, Jagdeep. You mentioned about Dr. Jaishankar's visit. I remember that. I was the deputy ambassador here. Again, thank you all of you for sharing your views. I greatly appreciate it. It's been quite a educative session. And I, of course, hope to meet all of you soon. Let me, from my side, give some of the perspectives, and especially taking into account what's happening in India, what really the next, as we are talking of post-COVID world, though it's a bit early, how that is all going to fit in. But there's certainly no doubt that this crisis has brought in also an economic crisis of scale that has not been seen in a long time. It has created uncertainty in the markets, in everyday lives, in supply chains, and movement of people. The contraction of global GDP and growth is a reality we have not conceived of a few months ago. While we are optimistic about a vaccine in due course, for now, we may have to learn to live with the virus. The immediate battle ahead will be offensive to trace, test, isolate, and treat. Governments are realizing the need to balance the demands of the economy with that of public health. Our focus is on economic recovery and on restarting the engines of growth. Demand and supply shocks, high levels of unemployment, trade disruptions are some of the common challenges economies are facing. For a developing country, the challenge of protecting the vulnerable on the margins of poverty is critical to our policy making. Both the containment of the virus and economic recovery will require strong international cooperation to complement the national policy efforts. India is working with its international partners, including the United States, to combat the pandemic. We have taken initiative in the SAARC, have sent medical supplies to over 120 countries, and are sharing knowledge and expertise with other countries in the region. As I mentioned earlier, our Prime Minister has emphasized the need for a global coordinated action. A long-standing and robust partnership with the United States in the area of health and scientific research has further deepened during the time of pandemic. Our institutions, NIH, CDC, and ICMR, are in regular touch with each other. We have had successful collaborations in the past, a recent example being the co-development of the Rotavac against rotavirus. Gilead has entered into an agreement with Indian pharmaceutical companies to establish a manufacturing base for remdesivir. Our companies will be able to manufacture the drug and supply to other parts of the world. Similarly, India has been working with the US private sector in vaccine development. There are at least 3 ongoing collaborations between Indian companies and US institutions and in vaccine development. These are, of course, Serum Institute, Cotagenics, then we have Bharat Biotech, and of course, University of Wisconsin and Madison. These all will have the ability to scale up manufacturing of the vaccine to ensure its availability to meet global public health needs. Indian pharma companies, as you know, are global leaders in producing affordable, low-cost medicines and vaccines and will play a key role in the global fight against this pandemic. The pandemic fast-tracked adoption of technology. Digital connectivity is effectively being used for teleworking, teleeducation, and telemedicine. Our tech companies have shown the way and are continuing to innovate in information supply, new digital platforms, and tools for learning. There will be opportunities for tech startups and companies. Indian companies and tech professionals have been making a valuable contribution in this area and will need to innovate to seize opportunities that come this way. In fact, technology, innovation, and knowledge partnership has become central to our relationship with the United States. There are over 200,000 Indian students in the United States, particularly in STEM areas. They bring tremendous value to the higher education system here, and many of them go on to become experts in areas of cutting-edge technology. In wake of the pandemic situation, some of our students face uncertainties. We have been in touch with universities to address their concerns and issues. There is tremendous potential for collaboration between our higher educational institutions, and we must continue to build partnerships between India and United States beyond this crisis. Our focus is on restarting the engines of economy and taking advantage of the opportunities for India as businesses from US and other countries take a long look at supply chains. We recognize the need for creating a more attractive ecosystem for investment and pushing reforms. In recent times, we have taken steps to liberalize FDI policy, reducing corporate tax, a rationalized tax regime in form of GST. With a focus on recovery, Prime Minister Modi has announced an economic package of $270 billion. A number of measures focused on incentivizing business and investment, focused growth have been announced by our finance minister. The reforms include supply chain reforms for agriculture, rational tax system, simple and clear laws, capable human resource, and a strong financial system. These are long pending reform measures in critical sectors. A particular highlight has been structural reform in the agricultural sector through deregulation of specific commodities such as cereals, edible oils, pulses, onions, potatoes, and removing stock limits. We will allow barrier-free interstate trade in agricultural products and also enable a legal framework for contract farming to facilitate direct farmer engagement with processors, aggregators, large retailers, and exporters. We have announced structural reform in major sectors such as defense manufacturing, mining, civil aviation, space, atomic energy, and infrastructure. The FDI caps in defense manufacturing under the automatic route have been raised from 49% to 74%. The disruptions in global supply chain during the COVID-19 pandemic has made it clear that the future might see major restructuring of the supply chains as risk and security management gain primacy. We need to look beyond this crisis. As you have highlighted, there are opportunities in across sectors which we need to seize. In short term, there are uncertainties which we need to tide over. These will affect the way we live our daily lives and conduct business and diplomacy. I look forward to continuing this conversation and working together with this eminent group to take this forward.
Thank you, Ambassador Sandhu. Current circumstances prevent us from hosting you in person, but we look forward to doing so, hopefully in the very near future. You talked about building opportunities beyond this crisis, and that is what we are looking at as well. We are looking to see what we can do once this crisis is behind us to help companies here in the US leverage opportunities that arise in India, whether it's through shifting supply chains or other sources, and the other way around as well. So we look forward to working with your office and also with the office of the consulate here in Houston to make those things happen. With that, let me go on to thank our participants for today. Ambassador Sandhu, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for this webinar. It's been highly informative. Senator Cornyn, although he had to drop off, we do thank him sincerely for his time and his friendship over the years. Consul General Mahajan, thank you again for being here and your support in organizing today's event. Our esteemed advisors and speakers, you enrich our chamber and make us what we are. Thank you. And I would like to thank a few community partners without whom this event would not have been possible. They're listed on the screen and they have been sharing this event with their members and supporters. Thank you for your help. And lastly, our media sponsors and supporters who convey the message and share news and information about what we're doing with the community. Thank you for what you do. With that, I hope you all have a great weekend. Be safe out there and have a happy Memorial Day. Thank you. That ends this webinar.
Thank you very much.